All right, I think we will go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining us for today's web conference on the ACCED-I Collegiate Conference and Events Professional Certification, or CCEP. For today's session, we ask that you utilize the Q&A function instead of the chat to submit your questions. Please feel free to do this throughout the presentation. However, we will also have time at the end to address your questions and give you the opportunity to ask those in person as well. First, we would like to get to know a little bit about all of you while we are introducing ourselves to you. There are 3 questions that we ask that you answer, just so we get a little bit of background. Now, I'm Diana Hackenholtz, Director of Meetings and Education for the Association of Collegiate Conference and Events Directors International, ACCED-I. I've been with ACCED-I for 15 years, but prior to joining the team, I worked at the Fort Collins Convention and Visitors Bureau here in Colorado, the Oxford Hotel in downtown Denver, a hotel management company, and a golf resort in Illinois. I did go into college with this profession in mind and majored in natural resources, recreation, and tourism at Colorado State University. In my free time, I love outdoor pursuits, especially hiking and camping with my dog Sadie.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah Goodrich. I'm from East Stroudsburg University of Pennsylvania. I've been a member of ACCED-I for 20 years now. I received my CCEP in 2003, which seems like eons ago. Well, it was the dark ages back then. And I have been a member of the ACCED-I Action Team since 2005. I am currently also serving on the board of directors, and I'm excited to be here today and talk to you all about the CCEP program and what it is and how it has evolved and all the support it has with everybody in the association. I would first like to as well thank Diana. I am so honored to have the opportunity to do this presentation with Diana. We've served on the action team together for 15 years and since it was inception. And this is the first time I get to do the presentation with Diana. So I would like to say thank you for that. So.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm excited to do this as well.
Cool.
Well, thank you to everyone who filled out our poll. It looks like we have attendees from every region, which is great to see. And no one is a current candidate as of yet. Hopefully we will change your minds and you'll be wanting to put in your application after this presentation. And a few of you have already gotten involved at the regional level. So we thank you for your volunteerism.
Great. So today, we are essentially, this presentation, we're going to talk about the certification program requirements, responsibilities with your CCEP mentor, as well as writing and selecting your professional essays, a little bit about the board support, and then we'll leave it open for some questions. And again, please feel free to ask questions as we go along. The nice thing about doing this presentation in person is, of course, you know, you're looking at people and they can just ask questions and it opens up another bunch of questions. But feel free to do that in the Q&A, but we will have time at the end.
Great. So the first step towards your CCEP journey is applying. Before submitting your CCEP application, you want to make sure you meet the minimum requirements. And those are membership in ACCED-I and one of the following: at least 3 years of qualifying full-time experience, or that can be reduced down to 2 years of qualifying full-time experience if you have a bachelor's or master's degree in a relatable field as well. If you meet the requirements, you can then fill out the online application form located on the ACECED-I website. You will be asked to upload your current resume as well as a letter of application. That letter should address 3 items: your experience in the conference and events industry, why you are enrolling in the program, and what you hope to gain from certification. You will also at that time submit a non-refundable application fee. Currently, that is $375.
So when back 15 years ago, we were revamping the CCEP program, and I'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later, but one of the things over time that we decided as a tagline was the do it, write it, achieve it for the CCEP program. And we're going to talk about what you need to do it. Writing, there is a workbook component to the program, and we'll talk about that, and as well achieving it, essentially getting it done and achieving it is just a great thing. And this is a picture of I'm not sure what year, maybe a couple years ago. Yeah, actually it was 19. It was 19. I'm looking at who it is. Back in 19, that was all the people who received their CCEP. So the achieving it is the most gratifying part of the whole program.
So now you've applied and been accepted as a CCEP candidate. Now what? You will have 3 years to complete your requirements. You need to attend a minimum of 12 hours of education, and that averages only to 4 hours a year. You can earn all of these hours through in-person or virtual ACECED-I events. Those can be anywhere from sessions at the annual conference, educational forums, or regional drive-ins with an educational component. You may also earn limited number of hours through other professional development opportunities. For example, you can earn up to 3 hours from college-level courses that you may be taking, up to 4 hours at other professional meetings related to the work of a collegiate conference and events professional. Education does need to be formal. Informational sessions, such as the ACECED-I business meeting, regional meetings, or informal discussions, like roundtables or peer-to-peer discussions, will not qualify as earned educational hours. You will also need to complete 2 professional endeavors. These endeavors are a candidate's way of sharing knowledge out to your peers and the industry, and furthering the industry in your own way. Those options include presenting at an ACECED-I in-person or virtual event, such as the annual conference, educational forums, or regional drive-ins, writing an article for ACECED-I Connect on an area that you have expertise on, completing the ACECED-I benchmarking survey, and submitting a summary of what you've learned about your operation. You can also publish an article in another professional journal or complete a CAS self-assessment on your operation. Of the above list, you can complete the same item for both of your requirements. So for example, if you present at an ACECED-I annual conference and then also present at an ACECED-I educational forum, both of those professional endeavor requirements will have been fulfilled.
So that percentage of you that are already involved in your regional activities, you can use those volunteer hours towards your volunteer requirement, which is 15 hours of service to ACECED-I. So obviously within those regional purposes, it's already an ACECED-I thing. Other ways to receive your volunteer hours is on-site or virtually at a annual conference, educational forum, or regional drive-in. You could host a drive-in, and those hours would be counted as towards your hours. Moderate an ACECED-I peer discussion. There's lots of opportunities for that available, and Diana will keep us posted on those. Serve as an action team, serve on an action team or a committee or task force. and assist on a special project or etc. Meaning that if you you can't quite get your hours in because you're not able to attend an annual conference or support something virtually, if you reach out to Diana, they do have some projects like doing the resource library or something with the web, helping out, the ACED-I office in that way. So there's opportunities there as well. So write it. I must explain this picture because a lot of people laugh about it. So this picture was taken 15 years ago at Anderson University in Indiana. As you can see, Diana is there on the left, and I'm in the middle, like third from the right. And that picture, we're under the table because while we were in Anderson, we had to leave Anderson because of the a tornado, and so we were in a tornado watch. So that's just our funny and our play on that because of that. But the write it part of it is there are 15 workbook questions that you must answer in a professional format. And then at the end of that, you must submit one new question and answer to be used in future workbooks. So that I would have to say, and I will honestly say that is probably one of the more challenging parts to the whole program, because presenting and volunteering, et cetera, like that, and attending sessions is very easy. But the one thing that kind of puts everybody to the end of their 3-year limit is the write it part of it. But do not ever let that sway you in one way or another, because actually it's very educational and purposeful to those that have answered questions. So the write it part of it is based on CAS standards. And the CAS standards are criteria that are set by the Council for Advancement of Standards in Higher Education. CAS is a consortium of 40 professional associations in higher education, including ACED-I, that develops and encourages the use of standards. Back when we started looking at the workbook, we felt it was important to have standards with which to follow these questions, and so they fit within each of the 12 standards of the CAS program that fall under conferences and event services. So it was important to fall under those standards, and it gives it more weight, it gives it more credibility, and like any certification program, it's important to have those standards.
Yes, CAS develops standards for 47 different functional areas, and CEP, or Conference and Events Programs, is one of those 47. And the ACED-I members are involved on the CAS board and in the development of the standards for the Conference and Events Program. So ACED-I is ever present in the development of those standards and then utilizes those for the basis of our CCEP program.
So an example of an essay question, you are a newly appointed director for your university. You are the newly appointed director for your university's newest venture, a full-service conference and event services department. Briefly outline the steps you will go through to determine your target markets and describe some basic marketing techniques. So your answer must be written from an industry-wide perspective, reflective of research and knowledge beyond your own campus operations. This fulfills the CAS standard related to program and services. And again, people often ask in regards to how long should the question be, should you cite your sources? We encourage people to cite their sources. It is supposed to be done in a professional manner. It is supposed to be written in, it doesn't have to be APA style by any means, but it should be written professionally. Cite your sources, and your work should be your work only. It's not something that you would share with a colleague in any way. It's all your work, all your answers.
So now you know what needs to be completed in your 3-year time frame as a CCEP candidate. So how do you manage it? The CCEP program is designed to be self-directed and it's up to the candidate to plan accordingly to complete all of the necessary requirements. We encourage all candidates to submit activities as soon as they are completed while they're still fresh in your mind. The exception to that being the 15 workbook answers. We do need all of those to be submitted together in one document, although we do encourage candidates to consider answering at least 5 of those a year, so it's not an overwhelming task at the end. CCEP candidates manage your progress through the member profile on the ACCED-I website. So I'm going to give you a quick demo on that right now. So you will see when you log yourself into the ACCED-I website, it takes you to your profile home. In this case, our test member. To the right, under my profile, you go to the Manage profile. And that will open you up to all of the activities you can do, update your bio, see any invoices. And if you page down to Content and Features, you will see a Professional Development option. That is where you will find your CCEP certification activities. It will open up to your Journal Entries tab. Below, you can see everything that has been submitted thus far and the status, whether it's pending, approved, or denied. If denied, there will be a reason under the details so you can understand why you are not receiving that credit. Once activities are approved or denied, you will also receive an email letting you know that that update has been made on your record. When you want to add a new entry, you simply click on the Add Entry, and it'll open up a pop-up box. So it's always important that pop-ups are allowed, or else this will not show for you. And there's the Collegiate Conference and Events Professional Certification Program or the Recertification. So as a candidate, you will be choosing the Collegiate Conference and Events Professional. It will automatically populate to today's date. And in this description, you can put whatever it is that you did. I volunteered at the ACCED-I annual conference registration desk. Oh, my apologies, I skipped over the credit type. You need to select what you are asking credit for, be it the educational hours, a professional endeavor. So in this case, we are requesting volunteer hours. So you spent 2 hours volunteering at our desk, which we greatly appreciate. So under the credit number, you simply put in 2. The rest of this, the next 3, the credits expires, score, and activity code can be left blank. They do not necessarily relate to our certification program. In the case of educational hours or any summary you want to submit, you can type it all into the description, but we know how things can get in the office and how easy it is to get pulled away from an activity you may be doing. So a best practice we recommend is to still put all the information needed into a Word document, and then you can always upload that file for your documentation of the credits you are asking for. This simply just opens up your computer so you can have whatever file is needed. And then you click Submit. In a few weeks' time, there will be a result in that status of either being accepted or approved or denied. For an easy overall look of your progress in the program, you can click the Certifications Program tab, and this will show your Collegiate Conference and Events status. Currently, that is incomplete. And it will show what you have earned in each of those categories and what the minimum requirement is for that category. There is also a CCEP expiration date, so you will always know the date you have to have all of these items completed and submitted to the ACECED-I office. So in the case of this candidate, they expire in a few months' time on July 24th. They've earned 11 of the 32 requirements needed. They still need to submit their additional question, 15 volunteer hours, and one more professional endeavor, and 4 more educational hours. Once you have completed all of those items, you simply need to email me and we will get that process completed to getting you your CCEP.
Awesome. Thank you, Diana. I didn't even know about that tab. That's funny. But while you were explaining that, we had a question, and it was, it said that we're giving up to 3 years to complete the certification. What is the average length of time that it takes anyone to achieve the CCP? Great question. That really varies, and truly varies. We have had people finish it within less than a year, within a year, and you can get an extension. We'll throw that out there. A 1 year extension is allowed. You have to reach out to Diana, and there is a fee of what's the fee? $100? $125. Okay. So we have had people go beyond that. I mean, we are very excited with the number of attendees that are, signed up for this and had interest in this program. So with that, we are thinking that during these interesting times that we are all living in, and we're all working from remotely, and certainly our summer seasons are canceled, that this is allowing us time to essentially work on professional development, and that's a great way to do that. So thank you for that question. It was a great question. That's an excellent question.
Sorry, Sarah.
Oh, go ahead.
For candidates to be aware of, once you are accepted into the program, you have your first 60 days to submit any educational hours, professional endeavors, volunteer hours that you may have earned in the previous 12 years. So in essence, you do have 4 years to complete all of those other items besides the workbook. So in many cases, you may be joining the CCP program, and because you've attended events in the past, you have a lot of these items already completed and can submit those in your first 60 days.
And I just realized I had to move this up, that we have a couple more questions. What do you need to get recertified? We're going to talk about recertification in just a minute. And are there any other costs associated with certification beyond the application fee? Not unless you need to do an extension. Can you go to the requirement page again, please? Let's go back before we talk about mentee-mentor relationships. Why don't we go back then?
Yes, I'm happy to do that. All right, I will go back from the beginning, really abbreviated. When you log into the ACECED-I website, you'll be taken to your home profile. You click on Manage Profile. You scroll down to Content and Features to Professional Development. Once you're in Professional Development, this takes you to the certification programs. It will automatically open up on the Journal Entries tab. And you are able to add a new entry, but also review everything that has been approved, denied, or may still be pending in your program. When you add an entry, you simply choose your Collegiate Conference and Events Professional designation, what credit type you are requesting, be it educational hours, professional endeavors. It will pre-populate the date, put in a simple description, In this case, we'll say we attended 1 session. Credits expired. Score activity code can remain blank. Our recommended best practice is to upload a Word document that has all of the requirements and documentation needed for that credit, and then you submit. You can also sort through, which I did not mention before, on the journal entries. If you want to see everything that is approved only, you can apply that filter, and it will just show those items. You could also choose to view by credit type. You just want to see what educational hours you submitted to this date. You can also put in a date range, but usually I find candidates want to search by status or credit type. And then the good overall snapshot of your progress in the program can be found on the Certifications and Program tab, which will show if you're completed or not in the process. As a candidate, that will remain incomplete until you've earned your designation. And then the minimum required in each of these categories and what has been earned to date. This will also be a place where you can review what your deadline date is to complete the CCEP in that 3-year time frame that you had.
Great. And again, I mean, it's obviously the 15 hours is your volunteer hours, the 2 professional endeavors, and the 12 educational sessions. Another question, do all the requirements need to be completed after applying, or can prior service or education be submitted? Diana mentioned that you can, once you apply, you have 6 months prior to submit information. So if you sign up today and you attended an educational forum last fall, or even in January, the one that we had in January, you can submit any of those hours that you attended. Probably there might have been at least 3 or 4 educational hours right there. Probably maybe more than 4, I'm guessing. I can't even remember how many there is, but at least 4, let's say. So you can count that towards that. So hopefully we answered those questions okay. So going on to the mentor-mentee relationship. This one is very near and dear to my heart. These are 3 of my mentors, my mentees. I'm the mentor in this situation, but those are 3 of my mentees right there. The relationship that you have with your mentee or your mentor is very important. You will be assigned a mentor, and you use this person for advice and feedback. You set up mutually agreeable schedule for communication. You share written drafts with your mentor, and your mentor wants to help you complete your CCEP. In my case, as a mentor, as I say, I'm very passionate about it. I've been known to call out some people on Facebook or directly in groups just to see if they're working on their questions, and that's particularly if they're getting very close to their deadline. I have had some mentees wait till the 11th hour, and Diana can say that she has received some workbooks and such like that at like 11:59 p.m. So she knows that she gets them at the very last minute. If you are one of those people who likes to procrastinate, I really wouldn't recommend that, by the way. It's just very nerve-wracking for you and for your mentor. But it is fun. I just called out a mentee today. He is now less than 55 days. He's a week away. So he's like, 50-some days away from completing his CCEP on June 30th. And I'm now on a weekly reminder to that individual to get their workbook done. And all they have to do is the workbook. And as I mentioned, the writing part is probably the most daunting part. But if you actually do your workbook first, it's over and done, and you don't ever have to worry about it again. So I highly recommend that part of it. I will also say, as your mentor is assigned to you. If there are any situations where you do not have a good relationship with your mentor, then you would reach out to Diana and she can assign you a new mentor. It's really important to have that relationship. And sometimes you might have to spearhead it a little bit or keep on reminding them. I, on a monthly basis, reach out to every one of my mentees just to say, hey, how you doing in the program? Can I help you in any way? So it's really important for me to have that relationship. But if you ever feel like you are not getting the support that you need, then definitely reach out to Diana and she can assign you a new mentor. But again, I've done everything. I mean, the volunteer hours and the educational sessions and the professional endeavors, those are easy things. It's really, your mentor is really there to support you for the entire program, but primarily to get that workbook done and kind of push you. Any questions on that? I think we have a couple more questions, Diana. I gotta look.
I will just say one more thing about the mentor. If you do have a current relationship with someone that has their CCEP, during the application process, you can request them as your mentor. But again, if you don't know anybody, do not feel bad about that. We will assign you somebody. And again, have that really good initial conversation with your assigned mentor. Let them know what you need from them. Do you need a pit bull like Sarah who's going to call you out and hassle you? Or do you just want someone that's more in the background, that you ping them when you need that additional assistance? So, and as always, as Sarah mentioned, if it's just not a match or, things change in everybody's lives and maybe they can't be there for you as much as you need at that particular moment, please let me know. We can always find somebody else because we want to make sure you have that assistance to get you through this program.
We would hate to see the reason for you not to complete the program is because you had a horrible relationship with your mentor. That's typically not the reason why, but we do want that to be an important part of it. So the one question that we have, Diana, is how do we get education credit for sessions at other association meetings like the ACUI and NACCED?
You simply still need to fill out that online form through your profile, and you just need to upload a copy of the receipt, something from that meeting, so I can see that you're not just pulling something from somebody's website, but that you were an actual attendee. Obviously, for any ACED-I events, I have access to those registration lists and know that you were registered or not. But we do usually also ask, in terms of the educational hours, that you submit what you've learned, just to kind of show that you did attend and participate in that educational opportunity.
So here we are. We have achieved it. You did all the requirements. You got your volunteer hours in, you got your professional development sessions in, and you, did I say educational hours? So you've done it all. You've done that darn workbook. And so here you are, you have achieved it. And here are the 2020 recipients. And if we had been in Providence, these people would have walked across the stage to receive their certification.
Yes, once you do complete all of your requirements, you are able to immediately begin using that CCP credential, which is so important in our industry as well as others, to have those letters after your name. But you are officially recognized during the awards and recognition luncheon that happens at the annual conferences. I feel horrible that Kelly, Dennis, and Kelly were unable to have that walk across the stage. So we wanted to kind of give them that additional recognition here during this web conference.
So it was very important to the action team and to the board to have a recertification program for the CCEP. What it does is it gives it a lot of merit and weight and credibility as a certification program, because every other certification program out there always has a recertification component to it. So to maintain your CCEP designation, all designees must recertify every 3 years by completing requirements in education experience and service. The 3-year period begins on April 1st of the year you are recognized, receive your CCEP designation. And in that case, the one thing you don't have to do is write another, answer questions in another workbook. So you must attend a minimum of 12 educational hours, complete at least 2 professional endeavors, and volunteer a minimum of 15 hours to ACCED-I. So you can do that within that 3-year period. This recertification only just came into play. It took us, I would say, about 5 years. It was 5 years ago we started talking about it and planning it and so on and so forth. But recertification only came into play officially 3 years ago. So those of us that had our CCEP and wanted to recertify, we had starting in 2018, was it 18?
17.
18, 19, 20. Would have been 18, 19, 20. I think it was 18, 17, 18. Anyway, so from that point on, everyone that wanted to recertify had to do all of the requirements. And we do have a number of candidates that have recertified at this time. So. And so how your certification help you? It is the ACCED-I professional designation. It aligns with conference and event professionals and accepted by the CAS practice standards in higher education. It conveys achievement among your peers. It assures professional credibility in higher education, inspires a higher standard of professional conduct, improves professional and leadership opportunities, and offers opportunities for you to mentor others. And as we mentioned that the recertification, I mean, the fact that we have the recertification, it even gives it more merit and more weight as far as what you do. It certainly, and it is achievement among your peers within ACCED-I, but as well among your peers outside of ACCED-I at your university, so that you can put those, again, those 3 or 4 letters after your name. And people will even ask you, what does that mean? But it definitely gives you some experience. So.
Great. So now we're going to open it up to questions.
Actually, Diana, one of the questions that we had written, there's another question. Could you go back to the slide that appeared just before write it? Someone asked that question.
Oh, let's see. The volunteer hours?
Volunteer hours was that was the slide. So the person had to step away. So I guess they missed that slide.
So,
and before we open it up to questions, Diana, it says, every professional on our campus has been partially furloughed due to COVID-19 and budgetary concerns. As a result, my FTE will be 0.8 for a period of 2 months, perhaps more. How will this reality affect the requirement of full-time employment for a period of 3 years?
So, you know, just like if you were only working in the industry on a part-time basis. So let's say, you know, you've never worked as a full-time employee, but have only been part-time for your career. Probably a rare occurrence for collegiate conference and events professionals, but we'll just use that as a basic example. You would need then probably 6 years of that part-time work. So you would, you know, think of an average of 20 hours a week opposed to the 40 hours a week. So you would just need to double that. The reason why we have that full-time work experience is because of some of the situations that are addressed through the questions and through the standards. As Sarah has mentioned before, we want all candidates to be successful in the CCEP program, and without a few years of experience working in the day-to-day realities of collegiate conferences and events, we find it may be too difficult to answer some of those questions without that in the weeds experience that you get from your full-time employment.
Another question we have was, how much does it cost for the recertification? Sorry, great question. I did not include that. It is $125. So I apologize. I did not include that. That there is a fee for that. And then another question was, are there certification scholarships available?
No, we do not offer scholarships for those certifications at this time.
Right. Not something that has been discussed amongst the board or any other or the action team. And I just would like to say as well that, you know, from the perspective of the board, the CCEP program has tremendous support from the board. And back 15 years ago, before we got started with this action team, the program itself was in jeopardy, but we had to revamp it and make it what it is today. Because when I say that I got my certification back in 2003 in the dinosaur years, it truly was. The program has improved vastly over the last 15 years, and even so much more in the last, I would say, 7 years to 8 years. Because we've rewritten the workbook questions and made them more credible and make them, you know, make sense and make you really want to know and learn about the profession and how you can better yourself. So the questions really allow you to become a better person as well, to learn a lot. So that's important.
So we still want to take any questions you may have on anything you saw or anything we maybe did not go over. Please continue to submit through the question and answer box, or if you want to have a discussion with us to ask a question, simply click on your raise the hand button, and when I call on your name, please unmute your microphone and you'll have access to ask us that question directly. Before we get started on all of that, though, you may see Christina Paterino has jumped onto our panelist list. She is our current chair of the CCP Action Team, and I'm happy to have her join us for this question and answer portion, and would like her to just give a little bit of background about herself first.
Thanks, Diana. Good jobs. Good job, both of you. Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to be able to jump on here and just share a little bit about me. I'm at the University of Colorado, Boulder, and conference coordinator. I'm going on my 20th summer, although it's not going to happen. And I'm in the hospitality industry since I was a senior in high school. So I really love this industry. I realized today is my anniversary day of getting your email, Diana.
Wow.
Of getting my CCEP. So I thought that was pretty exciting. I got my CCEP back in 2017, and I would have never even thought of doing this. I had looked it up, just like I'm sure most of you saw it, you know, when you're on the website, or maybe you've heard about it or in the information. And it wasn't something I thought I could even do until one of my colleagues mentioned something to me at the Denver conference and said, have you ever thought about doing this? And I was like, well, yeah, but I don't think I could do it. And certainly, you know, it's changed my life. I think it's an amazing program. It's actually created a work group for safety and emergency preparedness in my office. It also helped me with thinking outside the box when it came to student development. It's just a great opportunity. It's a great achievement that I'm very proud of. And I just really want to encourage you to talk to one of us if you have more questions, even after this. It is something that's doable. It's very doable. And if you had hesitations prior to seeing today's webinar, hopefully you're at that point where you feel that this is something you could do. And I know that, you know, budgets are tight and we're in this unsettling period, but you just never know if people can maybe even get budgets from this fiscal year before it ends. Is such a great opportunity to submit and become an applicant. And I have to admit, I'm one of those who did submitted everything, my workbook, a minute before it was due. And it happens, life happens sometimes. So, you know, even if you're wanting to do it within a year and life happens, my mom passed away and I wasn't able to continue it for a bit. And then I jumped back in. So you can do it. I just really want you to know when you get off this call that this is something possible, it's achievable, and you can make it happen.
Great. There's a question that's been submitted, again, regarding the full-time work experience, if it specifically needs to be in collegiate conferences and events, or any event full-time work experience. And definitely any event experience you might have, be it from a hotel, convention visitors bureau, or it was just you were the event planner somewhere, that is definitely relatable and would definitely qualify towards that work experience requirement. Are there any other questions before we start to wrap up here?
Dinah, there was a question, maybe you answered it already, but will you be sharing the recording with all of us?
Yes, everyone on this web conference will get a copy of this recording, and it will also be available for download to the membership after the fact. It usually takes a few days for us to get that up and available.
Nobody has any pressing questions?
Well, great. Well, before we leave, I do want to ask one more polling question of everybody. Our final question is just to give us a feel of if you think you might be submitting your CCEP application. We hope you do. And just so everybody has access, I'm going to share our presentation again. So if you have any more questions after this web conference, something that doesn't come to you until a week from now, a lot of our questions can be answered on the website, or you can always contact me via phone or email. I'm happy to answer any of your questions and help you get through the process. All right, so with that, thank you so much for your time. I hope you got everything you wanted to out of this informational webinar, and thank you so much, Sarah, for doing this presentation with me.
There was one more question.
Oh. Yep, there was. I just saw it.
Okay.
Just popped up.
Yeah, what is a qualifying degree, and would an MA in organizational leadership count? Yes.
Yes, that would definitely count as a qualifying degree.
Great.
All right.
Well, we hope to see you all. Your names submitted into the to Diana for an application, and you know, with the way COVID is going, we will be probably giving away 11, 12 or so CCEPs in 2020 or 2021 in Albuquerque. So we look forward to meeting you all then.
Thank you so much, everyone.